Good evening, everyone. It's Lee here from Premier Training for our latest Facebook Live session, our latest Facebook Live catch-up. I hope you're all well, staying safe and keeping well. And I was going to say enjoying the sunshine, but we haven't had much the last few days. It's gone again. I think the summer's ended already. But yeah, as I say, I hope you're all well, and we'll cut straight into it. Really, we've got a sort of special Facebook Live tonight because we've got a guest here, Jo, who her background is she started off with AAT qualifications, progressed to ACCA qualifications, and now she's a chief financial officer with a successful company. So Jo has kindly offered to come on and have a chat with me we'll have a chat with us all for 20-25 minutes about why she opted for AAT, why ACCA was the logical next step for her, and a little bit about her job now as well, and the kind of career opportunities that those qualifications can provide. So I'll stop babbling on them and say hi, Jo. How are you? Okay.
Hi, Lee. Yeah, I'm great. Thank you. Thanks for having me this evening. And great to kind of see you all. So thank you.
Yeah, and thanks again, Jo, for coming on board. So I think we'll no one sort of here to listen to what I've got to say, so we'll launch straight into it, Jo, if that's okay. But yeah, I just wanted to sort of find out, first of all, sort of taking you right back to I think when you left school and you had your first job there. But why AAT? What sort of led you into AAT qualifications in the first place, really?
Well, yeah, that's going back some time ago now. It feels, but yeah, to be honest, I absolutely loved school. Didn't probably do enough work, so wasn't great at it. Had a brain, like we all do, but wasn't always focused on applying it. But I was pretty good with numbers. So I left school at 16, no A-levels, no university, but I needed independence. I wanted money. I had bills to pay and a life that I wanted to live. And at that point, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So I wanted something that would give me kind of a lot of choice. So I kind of then went into, obviously, employment at 16, got an administration job at the local council. And I was surrounded by kind of accounts assistants, accountants, great men and women who were basically kind of running the show in the background. And obviously they'd done the AAT to ACCA kind of route. So I kind of thought, well, I need to kind of do something like AAT. I don't have kind of other qualifications other than GCSEs at that time. So I thought AAT, if I then wanted to go on and do ACCA, that would also give me some exemptions. So, and I also felt like, if I just stuck with AAT in its own right, that would be a useful foundation for various kind of roles, etc. And kind of accountancy, being an accountant kind of interests me because I felt, you can work in any industry. So all businesses have accountants. So whether that's fashion, practice, sports, if you're into that, hospitality, retail, or, running your own business, it just, to me, felt like it could open lots of different doors. So, remembering at that point, I didn't have a clue what I wanted to do. So I also thought as well, at that point, I thought I might want a family one day in the future. And then that could be a good kind of career choice that could fit around that as well, depending on what I wanted to do, really. So there, I suppose, some of the key reasons why I, was really interested in AAT.
Yeah, so it's the flexibility, really, isn't it? And
yeah.
Like you say, that's an interesting one, because we talk to students about AAT qualifications, and I think a lot of students assume if I do those qualifications, I've got to become an accountant or a bookkeeper or work in an accountant's. But yeah, as you say, the skills and the accountancy and bookkeeping skills can be applied to any industry or any sector, depending on what your passion is, isn't it? If you love golf, you can go and be an accountant for a golf club or whatever.
American golf, or places like that. And I think, like you've just said, industries big and small. Huge industries, you can start at the bottom, work your way up if you so wish, or smaller industries, even your local pub or youth, they all need accountants or auditors, or whatever it might be, or accounts assistants. So even if you're not fully qualified, the AAT enables you to do a lot of that anyway in its own right. So definitely.
Yeah. So what was the motivation at that stage? Was it career progression? What was the main thing in your head? Was it career progression, or was it money, or what was it?
All of them, to be honest. So I've definitely from early on, I always wanted to work. So, getting out of education, but working, and then always had the plan to get my education via work. So whether that was self-funded and the work being able to then fund that, or, there are also times when you can work for companies that will also then support you in those studies as well, which is fantastic. But definitely money. I kind of thought, well, over, in future years as well, you get an idea of the kind of salaries you can eventually earn and things like that. And that just kind of excited me. The flexibility definitely was motivated, by money, and just not knowing exactly what I wanted to do and thinking, well, depending on where life takes me, I think this is going to be pretty useful regardless.
Yeah, and I suppose that without sounding like the AAT handbook, I suppose that's sort of the beauty of AAT qualifications, isn't it? That you can do them without knowing exactly where you want to be in the end, but it opens up so many options in terms of other qualifications, or even if you just do your AATs, there's so many options there, aren't there? Yeah.
And obviously, because I needed to work, I had bills to pay, I could study in the evenings, weekends. Obviously, as I've kind of gone through studies, I've done a mix of going into classroom and learning, online, live studying, but all just online, or even at the beginning, just through books, to be honest. So I've kind of tried it all. And you can actually, there are opportunities sometimes to flick between that as well. So that just did fit in really nicely. In my early career as well, I worked at an estate agent's at weekends and a bar in the evening. So I was kind of had 2 or 3 jobs at any point, but I was able to then flex the study of AAT around that. Whereas I felt with A levels and university, that wasn't so much of an option for me at that time. So
yeah. And it's interesting what you said there about you did your GCSEs and you did okay in those, but you didn't look at A levels or anything more than that, because we get a lot of potential students call in and they'll say, I left school at 16, I didn't do A levels, I didn't do a degree, I'm not sure if qualifications are right for me. And 99 times out of 100, they do the qualification and they absolutely love it because they can fit it in when they want to do it and it works for them. So it's not, it doesn't matter what you did at school, really. It's not school, is it? It's a completely different world, isn't it?
Completely different, absolutely. And I feel actually also ACCA is as well. So AAT is a really good bridge for that, because to go straight to ACCA might have been a bit of a shock coming from just a school, not having the A level and uni in between. So AAT is just that kind of more adult, different kind of way of learning, I suppose. And then a lot of what you do is directly applied to then the work that you're going to do, whereas school, obviously, there's a lot that you then maybe aren't utilising, but actually it's really practical because it's stuff that you're definitely kind of then using if you're going to be an accounts assistant or admin and, work for a business doing their books or whatever it is. I think in any business, you've just got a bit more of an understanding of the operations of the business and the financial side of things. So.
Yeah, and you mentioned the ACCA, ACCA there, and we'll move on to that next, if that's okay, Jo, and have a chat about that. I just want to say, if for anyone who's watching, if you want to ask any questions while we're here, Jo's happy to sort of answer any questions as well. So just pop those in the Facebook comments, and they'll come up on our screen here, and I can relay those to Jo. So if you've got any questions, just let us know, and we'll try and answer those, and see if you can stump Jo with any. But
the challenge.
In terms of the ACCA qualifications, then what made you, like you say, you went for the AAT because it opened up doors and you didn't need to have anything set in mind? Was it different by the time you got to your your ACCAs? Or
yeah, and I think AAT for me was that pathway to ACCA. So it set the foundations, and then you get the exemptions then with ACCA, which, you know, I was really happy about. And you've got 14 or whatever more exams to do. I think it's great to be able to take a few of those off if you can. So I think I got to the point where I personally wanted that degree level qualification, you know, more than anything, probably just to prove to myself that I could do it. And, you know, I was ambitious, you know, I'd gotten to a point and still had that ambition to go further. So ACCA could kind of support that, give even more career opportunity. ACCA, I kind of chose because you cover a lot of technical aspects, you know, tax, financial reporting, audit, etc., which maybe wasn't so much my comfort zone or as much of an interest. But then there's still the management accounts. There's topics like ethics and legal paper, which I happen to love. You know, so you're just kind of learning. You know, you're just learning even more. And again, it's still practical. You apply it to your actual job. More financial independence, and yeah, it just kind of gave even more options, really. And you know, when you're working and studying at the same time, and you've got, you know, other people that you're working with, you can see the routes they've gone on, where they've got to in their career, and I wanted some of that for myself. So you know, that was what I felt I had to kind of do.
How was it? I know some of our students are a little bit reluctant when they're getting towards the end of their AAT level 4, and they're saying that they might go on to ACCA or something similar. They're a little bit reluctant in case of the step up. How did you find that in terms of the complexity? I know there must be a step up there, but how did that go?
Yeah, and you know, you worry when you take the exemptions as well, because then, you know, you're not doing those earlier papers. But you know, I started distance learning to begin with. I did it from the book, which later on you kind of think that was ridiculous to do that. So actually, you know, considering I started it in probably the hardest way possible, I also very much enjoyed life and wanted to go out every weekend, if not every other night of the week as well. So, you know, being kind of disciplined and motivated to do it, you know, that was a bit of a challenge for me at the time as well. But, you know, I managed it. I passed. You know, I wasn't in it to get the absolute best grades that I could either. I was there to learn, do the work, and pass and get the qualification ultimately. So, yeah, in the early stages, it was a step change. But actually, you know, you start off at the bottom papers and work your way up, and then do advanced papers. So you're kind of eased into it a little bit. But yeah, I suppose you have to put in the effort and the work. You definitely have to do that. But yeah, I think to be able to do it just from a book with no other support in the early stages, I wouldn't do that now. I, you know, later on did face-to-face and then did online learning, which was, you know, so much easier and didn't take up quite as much time. But yeah, it's doable. It's definitely challenging. The exams, you know, always are the thing that get you, and you feel so nervous, you know, regardless of how prepared maybe you are. But yeah, I got through it. And, you know, on paper at school, I probably wouldn't necessarily have been someone that would have been seen as, you know, kind of becoming a CFO maybe. So, you know, if I can do it, then I think, you know, probably anyone can really, with the right kind of focus and hard work. So
how did you, because you mentioned you sort of tried different ways of learning as you worked your way through your AAT and your ACCAs. How did you, in terms of when you did need some support, did you find that very often, or was it something where you were someone who could sort of solve those problems yourself as you worked through those qualifications? Or
definitely a mix, you know, and actually the qualifications can be very good, and through training partners like yourselves, you know, at bringing people together, creating little communities. So actually, you know, there are people on group chats or what have you to ask questions if you've, you know, got sticking points, things you're not quite understanding. Lecturers, even if it's online learning, that you've got direct email contact with them, or a chat group, or, you know, when you're on the live sessions, you can ask questions. And, you know, when they're online, they're fantastic because you can rewatch them. So if you've not quite got something, you can go back, rewind, you know, and eventually you kind of get it. So, yeah, even, you know, doing it more distant learning and online, I didn't find that any more difficult than being in the classroom, to be honest. Actually, I found it a bit more flexible, and if you needed to nip to the bathroom or make a cup of tea or have dinner in between, you can pause and then pick it back up. So
yeah. And with the ACCAs, you obviously worked your way through those. And what opportunities did that open up? How did your opportunities from finishing your AATs to finishing your ACCAs? How did your opportunities and the kind of roles you could look at change? Yeah.
I think there are some businesses that require certain levels of roles for you to be qualified. Sometimes there are ways around that, but it might take you 5, 6, 7 years longer, because then you have to qualify by experience. But there are employers out there, companies, fantastic companies that there's certain roles you might not be able to apply for without, say, an AAT level qualification or ACCA if it's specifically an accounting role. So as a CFO, it gives you credibility. It kind of underpins AAT. My AAT and ACCA journey underpins everything that I've achieved, and it's given me credibility, which I think over the years is, built my self-confidence as well. You've kind of, what you're talking about, or if people know you've got those qualifications, it's by default, it's kind of recognized. And then if you back that up with great work and hard work, then yeah, you're fine.
Yeah, no, that's really good and interesting to what you say there. And they're not just qualifications. There's the credibility from the qualifications, but like you say, it's the confidence builder as well. We hear that from a lot of students, that their confidence really from getting those qualifications and being able to work through them, especially through distance learning. I think it does give you a lot of confidence and sort of spurs you on to the next thing, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. It can be uncomfortable at the time, exams and things, but you get the lows and then you pass, and you get the highs, and then you grow and you learn. And so, it's definitely it's a journey. Yeah.
And in terms of being a CFO, a chief financial officer, that's an interesting one. And obviously one that, if someone's just starting their AAT journey, I was going to say they're probably not looking that far ahead, but maybe they are. Maybe we have got some of our students just starting now thinking, right, that's what I want to do in the end. What for people like me who are not that technically minded and haven't done the qualifications, what does that entail? That being a CFO, what's your sort of day-to-day routine, if you can sum it up?
Yeah, well, would it help to do a bit of a career run through, very quick?
Yeah. If you want to work backwards, go back and then work through to where you've got to now. That'd be great.
So kind of local council, as I said, to begin with, and that was an admin role, entry level role at the business at the time, and you can obviously progress through the admin kind of roles as well. But then I moved to payroll, and then an accounts assistant, and then that's when I really got the kind of flavour for, I want to do AAT. As I said, I worked weekends at an estate agents and in a bar in the evenings as well. Started the AAT qualification and finished that there. I then moved on to Highwood, which was an agricultural business, but I was actually brought on as a financial controller. So the AAT qualification enabled me to get to financial controller level. Right. That was a great role. I started ACCA when I was there, self-funded, and then the business kindly supported me with the training on from there. And then I kind of set my sights on New Look. So where I live locally, New Look retailers, fashion retailer, I've got a head office, and I wanted to work there. So I actually started in procurement, which is a buying department, and then kind of thought, get my foot in the door and I'll get to finance as soon as I can. So I then worked and did a secondment in the audit team, running, kind of supporting the audit that was going on at the time. And then I moved into kind of my role as commercial finance manager, which was, really played to my strengths, traveled the UK, parts of Europe, visiting stores, supporting heads of retail. Focus was on, how can we increase profits in our stores? And, as part of that role, there were lots of projects, and I got to work with marketing, logistics, merchandising, property, so really gained that kind of holistic view of a business. And I actually, networking is a real key one in this as well. And you do get to network a lot through your qualifications and through business. And I worked with a couple of guys and a lady that set up their own business. And a few years later, they kind of said, they offered me an opportunity to help basically the business grow, and they had longer term plans to sell the business down the line. So I was brought in specifically to do that. And I now run the business. So I'm CFO, but I'm obviously responsible for finance, of course, but also sales and marketing, HR, IT, and operations. So, the qualification, we've gone through a sale with the business, which is really exciting. I've had exposure to that. And, AAT, ACCA, all of my study in the background has enabled me to be able to do those things. When you're tackling them, you think, I haven't got a clue what I'm doing. And then somehow it's all in there. So I've been able to, do that, go around London, meet all private equity businesses, looking for investment previously, etc. So, just lots of exciting things. And I certainly couldn't see how I would have got to this level. And I don't, the founders that brought me on and asked me to come and join their business wouldn't have asked me without knowing that I'd gone through, the kind of journey I had, and that was qualified, etc.
So what we tell students and prospective students is the AAT and qualifications, it prepares you for any job in finance. Well, actually, you've took it even further, really, haven't you? There, because you're like you say, you're covering sales and marketing and all areas of the business. So we're not actually doing it justice in a way. What you can go on to achieve, really, it does open a lot of doors. Doesn't it?
And if you're in finance and you're involved in the budgets for logistics or budgets for sales and marketing, or at the end of the day, you're business partnering with those departments. So you're working with marketeers, people in digital marketing, or like you say, property. The business partnering side of things. You have to understand their world and be advisors to them and understand their kind of issues, etc. as well. So it's not just a case of sitting in a room working on spreadsheets, looking at numbers all day. You can absolutely do that as well if you want to, but there's definitely a lot more to it.
Yeah, and looking back, obviously you're in this great position now, and you've got all that experience as well. So who knows what the future holds as well? Yeah. You've got sort of the sky's the limit, really, isn't it? But in terms of sort of looking back over your journey, is there anything that you would do differently if you look back over that journey now? Just in terms of sort of advice for other students, is there anything you'd do differently, or has it gone sort of worked its way around to being the perfect journey in some ways?
This is a really boring answer, and it's great with hindsight, but I would definitely have probably enjoyed myself just a little bit less in the early stages of studying and focused more to get through it, because it's a necessity. You can enjoy your journey of it, but let's be honest, studying in school, you're doing it to kind of get the qualifications. It serves a greater purpose for you to get to where you want to get to. So the sooner you kind of do that and get through it, then, the better you can go and use it to achieve all the things that, the reason why you're doing it in the first place. So, but that's for me and anyone else that's in that bracket of probably going out and partying too much in the early days. But no, I think certainly try the different ways of training. If you've come out of school as well, you used to sitting in a classroom, although, COVID's kind of helped with that maybe, because we've all experienced online learning now. So, continue with that. If you don't have to travel to, if you live somewhere as well that isn't in a city, whether it's London, Southampton, or, you don't have to travel 2 hours and get on a train like I maybe did, at the times in my early days when I was doing face-to-face. Actually, then I thought, well, I can do online here. I've got 2 hours that I'm not traveling, that I can study. It's more cost beneficial, to be honest, as well. And, all of those different things. So, yeah, I'd say definitely try the different options and definitely do it. If you've got any doubt or you're feeling any imposter syndrome of I can't do this or I'm not going to be able to, do it, then you definitely can if you put in the work.
Yeah. I think that's I was just looking, that's 25 minutes has gone really quickly there, Jo, and that's probably a nice way to end, actually, what you were saying there about sort of work through them as quickly as you can, and you can enjoy the benefits quicker as well, can't you? So, and then and make the most of that flexibility now as well. So I think you've given us plenty to think about there, Joe, and it's a fascinating sort of journey that you've talked us through there in terms of your AAT and your ACCAs and what you're achieving now as well. So I'll let you go, and you can have a cup of tea or your tea and and relax. But thanks so much for coming on today. We really do appreciate it. That'll be really helpful. And obviously, if for people who aren't watching this live, you can rewatch it later. Have a look through it. This 25 minutes in your own time. Also, look out for our new initiative, Premier Training Initiative, called Connect at Premier, where we're doing a lot more of these kind of things and giving students advice and any support you need. We've got all kinds of tutor tips, videos and things lined up to wow you over the next few weeks. So look out for those. But thanks again, Joe, for joining us. And maybe we can, if it hasn't been too much of an ordeal, we can maybe have a chat again in the future, and you can join us again. Would that be okay? Yeah, sounds good. And thanks for having me. And if anyone's got any questions for me, you can find me on places like LinkedIn, Joanne McCourt. I'd happily answer any questions you might have from experience. So yeah, no, thanks for having me. No, it's great. It's really lovely to meet you, Joe. And thanks again for your time. We've just had Mike, one of our students. I know Mike. He's put thanks very much, Joe. Very helpful there. So we haven't got any questions yet. But again, if anyone thinks of any questions once they're watching this, when it's not live, pop them in the comments on Facebook, and we'll pass those on to Joe or try and answer those for you. Okay. So thanks again, Joe, and take care. And hopefully we'll speak to you again soon. Okay. Andrew, thank you. Okay, bye. Thanks.